Welcome back to Arise Prime Time. I'm Charles Anyegolu. To Osun State, where nearly 2 million registered voters are preparing to cast their ballots there. It's the eve of a high-profile political battle, with the APC and the PDP facing off against each other, as they did in 2018, and a number of other leading candidates from the Labour Party, Accord, the SDP, the NNPP, expected to also make a noticeable impact. So, what are the key concerns and issues that could determine the outcome, and how prepared is the Electoral Commission, INEC, and the security agencies? Well, in a moment we'll have assessment in the well, we will go first live to the Osun State capital. In a few minutes we'll go live. I'm told our correspondent is trying to rig up his equipment. We'll go there and talk to him. But first, with me in the studio giving their perspectives on the Osun governorship election and other big talking points here on Arise Prime Time, the writer, international journalist and African affairs analyst Lindsay Barrett, and the journalist, policy strategist and Arise News analyst Waziri Adio. And Waziri, of course, gentlemen, welcome. Waziri, of course, from Osun State, and therefore knows a lot about it, beyond the fact that he's considered to be one of the best analysts that we have around. I understand that the APC, well, we'll talk about that in a minute, but first of all, let's start with the governorship election in Osun State this weekend, tomorrow, in fact. How is it shaping up in your considered assessment?
It's going to be a significant election, not just because it's off-cycle election. And when you have off-cycle elections, all the attention will be focused on that state. So tomorrow, the whole country will be focusing on Osun State, INEC, the security agencies, the media, and the rest of us. But what makes Osun interesting is that there are going to be so many factors at play. In terms of background, Osun has 30 local government areas and 3 senatorial districts. The 3 senatorial districts, are equally matched up in terms of each of the senatorial districts has 10 local government areas. And in terms of registered voters, Osun has 1.95 million registered voters. The number of PVCs collected, according to INEC, is 76%, which is quite impressive.
Yes.
That's almost like 1.5 million PVCs collected. So if you look at the breakdown of the PVCs, registered voters, in terms of the local governments, you find out that there are 5 top local governments, and those local governments are likely to play a deciding role in how things play out tomorrow. And the number of registered voters in those 5 places range from 90,000 to 142,000, right? And if you put the 5 of them together, that's 563,000. That's almost 30% of the total votes at stake in Osun State. So that's first.
So those are major battlegrounds.
Yeah. So in terms of battleground, the election is going to be a replay, largely a replay of what happened in 2018. Yes, there are many actors there now. There are at least 5 to 6 strong contenders out of the 15, on the ballot. But principally, it's going to be between APC and PDP. And in terms of how things will shape up, let me just provide a little background. The APC person is from Osun Central, right? So it's expected that he will take a lead in his senatorial district. But having said that, his senatorial district also has 2 urban areas around Osogbo. Osogbo, that has 142,000 registered voters. Olorunda, that has 104 registered voters. And urban voters have a mind of their own. In most instances, they are anti-establishment. They vote against the incumbent and all of that. So that is one thing to look out for. The Labour person, Honorable Lasun, former Deputy Speaker of the House of Reps, is also from that zone. So he's expected to take some votes off him. Also, former governor of the state, Olagunsoye Oyetola, is also from that zone, and is in PDP, is back in PDP. So that's in terms of Osun Central. Osun West is where the challenger, that's Senator Ademola Adeleke, is from, and is expected to do well there. But at the same time, the Accord person, Dr. Ogunbiyi is also from Osun West, so he's also expected to take some votes from him. And also, there are some big cities in Osun West that are APC strongholds. So, but when you put all of this together, APC is expected to take the lead in Osun Central. PDP is expected to take the lead in Osun West. So the battleground will be Osun East. And Osun East is divided principally into two areas. You have the Ife areas and the Ijesha areas. So what will determine the outcome eventually is the margin of victory by each person in their stronghold and how they play well in the battleground, which is Osun East. And to look at Osun East, you have to look at two personalities there. The first one is Senator Iyiola Omishore, who's the National Secretary of APC now. And he's very strong. Two of the top five local government areas are in his domain. Ife East has 114,000 registered voters. Ife Central has 113 registered voters. That is domain. But you also have Ogbeni Rauf Agbereshola, former governor of the state, Minister of Interior, and who leads a group called the Osun Progressive Top Group. And they are leading towards PDP now.
Right.
So it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be close. What will determine the outcome, eventual outcome, is how each person is able to hold down their domain in Osun Central and Osun West respectively, and how they make a play for Osun East.
Well, that's a fascinating analysis. Thank you very much indeed for that. And we will come back and talk to both of you again. So, Lindsay, please be patient with us. But let's cross now to the Osun State capital, Osogbo, and speak to our ICE correspondent, Oba Adio. Good to see you, Oba. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Give us a sense of the mood in Osogbo this evening on the eve of the ballot.
Yes, if you check behind me, I'm standing on a highway that is usually busy on a regular day in Osogbo, the state capital. But right now, the traffic is disappearing gradually, and it has been like that since morning. It is taking a gradual disappearance from the road. That tells us that a lot of people who reside in the state capital are beginning to move into hinterlands, into their homestead, where they are going to vote. Don't forget that Osun is predominantly a civil servant state, and most of these civil servants are resident in Osogbo. So most of them will be going home to go and cast their vote. And as a result of that, they have to move out of Osogbo on Friday because of the curfew that has been declared for the election. So as it is right now, everywhere is, showing signs of getting ready, getting prepared for the big day, which is tomorrow. Everybody is aware that an election is taking place tomorrow across Osun State, and everybody, from what I've seen so far, is prepared for that big civic exercise tomorrow. The police, the soldiers, the market women, the market men, everybody, even the transport operators, everybody is prepared for the big day tomorrow.
And of course, you mentioned everybody, and an absolutely essential part of that is the Electoral Commission, INEC. What sense do you get of how prepared they are?
Yes, some moment ago, I was at the INEC Secretariat here in Osogbo. From there, I moved to this spot where I'm speaking right now. So I had interactions with some INEC officials there, particularly the head of the Department of the Legal Services in INEC, and he gave us a lot of assurances that everything is set on the part of INEC as regards that election. He told us that all sensitive and insensitive materials have been deployed to the 30 local government areas and area offices across Osun State. He also told us that, some days before now, a mock accreditation was practiced in some, polling units across the state, and result of that mock accreditation showed them that indeed everything is intact. So he gave us assurances that what we are going to see tomorrow will be a complete departure from what we saw in 2018, that the commission is ready, the commission is fully prepared, and they are ready to go all out to ensure that they give the state of Osun the best of electoral process. he also told us that the collection of the voters register, voter card that was extended till yesterday had also indicated that people are prepared to participate in that election. So from what I saw at the INEC secretariat, you know, we have less activities there right now because all the matters in that secretariat have also moved to site, including ad hoc staff, full-time staff, security operative, and everybody that will work with INEC in this election. So I can tell you, based on what we have seen so far, that the election management body is fully prepared and getting ready for tomorrow. By this time tomorrow, we'll be able to tell you for sure if indeed that assurance hold any water, or that assurance you know, will reflect in tomorrow's exercise or not. Between now and tomorrow, we'll get to see how far that plays out.
Well, I mean, it's actually good to hear you talking the way that you are. It gives one confidence that there isn't, hopefully, too much to worry about. Obviously, the campaigns are over now. What sense do you get, though, of how much anxiety there is among the contending parties about how the election is likely to go?
Charles, I did not get that question quite all right because the network here is funny.
I apologize for that. Let me try and ask that question again. I was saying, is there a sense of anxiety? I mean, we know the campaigns are over, but is there a sense of anxiety among the contending parties about how the election is likely to go?
Okay, I think I got that right. You're talking about the political parties and how prepared or how anxious are they about tomorrow's exercise. Yes, yesterday all political activities came to a halt, with the biggest one coming from the PDP yesterday. I'm talking about yesterday now. The PDP had its rally. Other parties have also held their own rallies before yesterday. And from my interaction with politicians across party lines, the PDP, the APC, the Labour Party, across party lines, all of them are looking forward to the exercise tomorrow, and they are relying on the assurances that have been given by INEC about the credibility of the exercise tomorrow. Don't forget that INEC assured them that this year's election will not be inconclusive like that of 2018. Remember, in 2018, after the first round of voting, INEC came out to declare that the election was inconclusive in some.
Okay, it looks like he was right. Of course, Oba Adio, our correspondent there in Osogbo, that the network is getting a bit ratty there, but we got the gist of what he was saying. Oba Adio is a RISE correspondent, and he is there covering the election, pre-election night, of course, and the election proper tomorrow. And with me still in the studio is Lindsay Barrett, who is, of course, an international journalist and an African affairs analyst and an author, and, of course, Waziri Adio, who is a RISE news analyst. And I mean, we've heard everything, I suppose, that we could hear about Osun State. Just going from that particular governorship election, Lindsay, to the bigger general election in 2023, does it now seem inevitable? You were listening to Aisha Yusufu earlier, as we calculate the elements that might bring the thrill of victory, the agony of defeat. Does it seem inevitable that whoever wants to be really competitive in that ballot must reach out to the large number of potential voters on the internet? And in that sense, 2023 is likely to be a much more modern ballot than any in the history of this country.
We all hope so. And I must say, Charles, the Osun election, for example, will be a test case for the new electoral culture that is being built in Nigeria. I almost said in Africa. Nigeria as a leader in Africa is seen, or her elections are often seen as test elections for what the continent is facing. And the Osun election is like that. It's going to be a test for what is coming. But what is coming has a new demographic color. And as Aisha said, there are new people coming in, not new people running, but new people voting. One thing we have to remember is that people vote based on their life experience. And as she rightly said, a lot of what is going on is people's reaction to what they have experienced. Insecurity is, of course, a big issue. But apart from that, right now, we are seeing what is happening with the economy. Inflation is here just as it is all over the world and so on. So people are asking, what are the leaders going to be able to do? And they've seen elections as a means of change. And that's very important.
Which is, of course, one of the reasons Waziri Adio, as he mentioned, and you pointed out earlier, why we're watching Osun State very keenly. We were talking just yesterday about how much of a bare-knuckle fight it was in 2018 between the APC and the PDP. Lots of suspicion between the two sides, fears of result manipulation and so on. Is that likely to be different this time because of this introduction of the bimodal voter accreditation system, or BVAS, which someone said was like the equivalent of a video assistant referee?
Yes, something we need to really acknowledge is that INEC has been undertaking a lot of reforms over time. And as a result of that, our election has improved.
Yes.
We need to acknowledge that. We don't. If there are, INEC is one of those public institutions, always improving. They introduced the PVC, the card reader. Now you have the BVAS, and all of that. So, and what they are doing is to introduce technology to reduce certain things. But what that has done is that in as much as it has reduced opportunity for manipulation, right, it has also shifted attention to other things. What our politicians used to do before was either to stuff ballot boxes, to hijack ballot boxes, or to write results. So with technology, you can't do all of that again. So that has shifted the attention to the voters. So if you want to win, you have to focus on the voters.
So you get to them before they vote, basically.
But before, you can just you can ignore them. You can just write results and all of that. So because you can't do that again, what we're now saying is that people are now trying to induce the voters, which is a negative thing, which we need to fight. But we also need to track how we got there. It's not that inducement is new. It has always been there. In fact, Chino Achebe wrote a short story published in 1965 titled The Voter. And it was about this concept.
So it's been around a long time.
Yeah, it's been around. But now, because you have eliminated other ways in which people can manipulate the votes, now people have to induce the voters. Do I think inducement is a good thing? Definitely no. Do I think the inducement changes the outcome? I don't think so. But I think we have got ourselves in such a stage where the politicians are so desperate, nobody wants to take a chance, and the voters have also become very cynical. And my submission is that whether with or without inducement, the outcome will still have been the same. But to go back to the Osun election and what it shows, why there's so much at stake there, is that the Southwest, for now, the APC has 5 states and PDP has 1, right? So there's battle for Osun State. So if APC wins that means they will maintain the ratio as 5-1. If PDP wins that, they will change the ratio to 4-2, right? And what that means is that in the general election in February, it can go from 5-1 to 6-0, or 4-2 to 3-3. So there's so much at stake on both sides, and they are throwing everything that they've got into it. And I think we should pay attention to the level of voters' inducement. It will be much more than what we saw in Ekiti, because the stake is so high. Also, beyond what happens in the Southwest, it's also about the momentum and the bragging rights going into 2023. 2023.
Right.
The confidence that gives you, and so there's so much at stake here, and that we hope for the best.
And talking about 2023, Lindsay, according to INEC's breakdown of the more than 80 million registered voters so far, because I mean it's a continuing process, 51.11% of them are between the ages of 18 and 35, which makes them the highest demographic at nearly 43 million voters. Can you imagine, or help us imagine, what impacts they'll have if they turn up to vote? And of course, most of them are on social media, so they're no longer analog, they're digital, assuming a presidential candidate or any of the candidates wants to reach them.
Well, actually, that's one of the remarkable events of the last 20 years in my life. I have suddenly, in fact, Charles, the last time I was on the air here, I made a few comments, and by the time I got home, I had received messages quoting me.
I understand that there were some even coming from St. Kitts and stuff
some
in
from
the Caribbean.
St. Kitts in the Caribbean.
Extraordinary.
One from a lot of people from London, but right in Nigeria, young people I don't know, have no idea. People in the so-called obedient movement had now thanked me. Apparently I had said that Peter Obi's ticket with Daddy looked like it was made in heaven or something. I don't remember saying it, but they reminded me.
Right.
And so what I'm saying is that what we are seeing is a change of people's perception of what the system can achieve. And this coming when we are seeing what's happening in Sri Lanka is very important.
Well, hopefully it won't happen here.
Well, but the point is that people are taking an interest in the system and are beginning to talk about ways.
So they're going to be watching that election very closely,
Not
the
only will
2023
they watch
election.
it very
right.
closely, they'll comment when it ends. And it will be very important for the politicians to listen to the comments that people make about the conduct of the election.
And we've got about a minute or so. According to some figures, I'm talking about sort of comments and so on, by the international research firm Statista, there are more than 184 million active internet users in Nigeria. 90% of them are aged between 18 and 29. They spend most of their day on the internet, mostly on social media. 80% are aged between 30 and 49. 35% of people are 65 and above. So when you see the likes of Aisha Yusufu, who is here, who do a lot of their campaign on the internet, you better have them on your side if you're, I mean, you know, if you're planning to go into the 2023 election, because that's an enormous statistic there.
Absolutely, absolutely. But you know, there's something that political strategists talk about a lot, which is that politics is a game of addition, not subtraction. So you need to, everybody definitely needs to pay attention to that demographic. And we also have a young population anyway, and you know, they have been awakened, they've realized the enormity of the power that they have, right? But you need to not just mobilize them to vote, but to collect their PVCs and to turn out to vote and protect their vote. Absolutely. But at the same time, you need to combine that. That is not enough. You need to combine that with the traditional way of playing politics. So whoever is able to combine the online and the offline crowd, right, to their advantage is the person that will carry the day. But that is a force that we cannot ignore. And it's been with us.
Right.
Even as far back as 2011, social media was a means of...
But it's a much more significant thing
Absolutely.
now. Okay, Waziri Adio, Lindsay Barrett, thank you very much indeed. That's it for this edition of Arise Primetime. Join us again tomorrow from me and the entire team here in Abuja and Osun State, of course. Bye-bye, and thank you for watching.